Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. This is your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. We got a lot to discuss, but the first thing that I want to point out right now is yes. The bill has passed. It will become officially law on tomorrow at 5 p.m. That's the fact. That is a fact. The bill has passed. There are two things we can do now. We can go into a fetal pose, or we can get out there and start the fight in order to make the necessary change to prevent this from being realized and ever occurring again. This game isn't won at all simply by being. You have to stay engaged. You have to stay engaged. So I know there are a lot of people who turned on their TV and realized we fought, and the Republicans still got the bill through. Well, there was going to be a good possibility that this was going to happen once we lost 2024. Once we allowed all the misinformation to cauterize, once we allowed our prejudices to have us make the wrong choices, once we have los Latinos de Trump, black men for Trump, women for Trump, in fulfilling a false narrative, it was bound to occur. So let me tell you, folks, this isn't our first rodeo at all. Unfortunately, we have a tendency to repeat history too often. We make 3 steps forward, then we take 2 backwards. We make a step forward, we take a couple backwards. We should be way ahead in healthcare. We should be way ahead in a whole lot of stuff. We're not. Why? Because too often, and look, granted, we have left too much up to the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party, we should always remember, well, no party is there to serve us. They're there to serve a party and what that party represents. And in every case, it first represents their financial benefactors of ill repute. That's why we really need grassroots movements. That's why we must always be governed via the grassroots. That is why we should always be engaged. You know, when I came to this country back in the early 80s, I came from a country where you couldn't really be as politically active as you would want to be. And for me, coming here was like a hella free. Being able to get onto the campus of the University of Texas and put on my boots and my beret and fight and make things better. Make sure that the university divested from South Africa. Made sure that the GOP policies during the Reagan administration didn't come to full fruition. Make sure that Reagan had to back down on some of the things, even as we didn't do as much as, not we, the Democratic Party didn't do as much as it should have. Okay? So let's be clear. Let me respond to myself. You know what? I am so into what's going on. I forgot to start the program the way I should. And that is saying, welcome aboard to all our folks. Welcome Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. We've got Mayor from Long Beach, California. We got Joe from Los Angeles, California. We've got Yvette Avery Harrod from Atlanta, Georgia. Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia in the house as well. I missed the first few. We have Lisa, Christy Smith, Marge, KJ. Great to have you this morning. Marge, we have Marge says, hello, Egberto. Marge visiting from Wisconsin. Thank you very much for being here. Marge, Phelps, Meditation, Stephanie Cooney, Joe, Caligna, Sandra Blanchard, Dorothy Skaggs, Deborah says, Democrats have done great things for Virginia, so I take umbrage with what you say about Democrats. Deborah, I am not speaking about you. I'm not speaking about Democrats who have done great umbrage. I'm speaking about Democrats who, when Obama nominated a senator, they brought a knife to a gun battle, unlike the Republicans who forced their Supreme Court justices, which is a direct result of what we're going through right now. Welcome aboard, Michelle Attaway from Holland, Michigan. Jen LaFleur, Debbie Knight. Look, I am not here to bash Democrats. Hey, hold on a second. Let me finish what I'm saying, but please stay with me, Ray. I am not here unilaterally attempting to bash Democrats. That's not the goal. I am not there to bash any Democrat doing a good job, my dear sister Deborah J. But I'm saying what we are realizing now is a direct result of the dereliction of the Democratic Party. You don't bring $1.2 billion in, which is what Kamala Harris brought, over $1.2 billion. And after I get on this soapbox and criticize for a very short time, it's not about the past. It's going to be about the future going forward. But I need you to hear me out here. I need you to realize that one of the titles of the program today says the following. Let me see where I have it, because I need to say this. Democrats learn from past Democrats, while Republicans pass policies that harm the working and middle class to make the wealthy richer. Democrats must learn from their past dereliction to win 2026 and overturn the big, beautiful bill. What am I saying? There is so much that we did wrong because too many of us, not you, Deborah, not the Democrats in power. Too many Democrats are owed to the plutocracy. Too many Democrats are controlled. Look at Hakeem Jeffries. We have Mandami in New York, who is given a clinic in how you don't only win Democrats, but how you win Trump voters, going into communities and talking to these people and listening to these people and them saying, I will come back to the Democratic Party if we have people who speak to us like Mamdani. And what did our brother Hakeem Jeffrey, what did our brother Schumer do? Have they immediately said, let's learn from him, let's endorse him? He is the representation in New York, he won the New York City primary. I am a Bernie supporter. When Hillary Clinton ultimately won, the word was, if you're blue, you vote whoever the blue is and comes out. And we did. We went out there and we voted for Hillary. Those of us who weren't enticed by Hillary. We thought, as correctly so, that she wasn't going to bring the base out because she was not at that time offering enough of a difference. And we watched as Donald Trump triangulated Hillary. We watched as Donald Trump used Bill Clinton's triangulative methodology to win that election, not by a majority vote. She won the majority vote, but to win enough. We were the ones telling the Hillary campaign, you've got to go to Michigan. You've got to go to Wisconsin, Milwaukee. You've got to go to Philadelphia. You know what was her last stop? Philadelphia. By then it was too late. We constantly, not we, the grassroots, the party constantly makes, I don't think they're mistakes. I honestly don't think they're mistakes. We are governed by a class, the class who runs the Democratic Party, the consultant class that make $15,000 a shot, while the grassroots are out there penny, nickel, and diamond to try to bring people into the fold. They don't listen to the grassroots. They go to consultants who wouldn't know what a working class person in Chicago looks like, what a working class person in Timbuktu, Texas looks like, what a working class person in Timbuktu, Wisconsin looks like. And you wonder why we lose? We can't just say Democrats do good things. We have to do good things. We have to be out there with the people. I'm in a very red area in Kingwood, Texas. And in as much much as this is a red area, we have the Republicans out here in the churches, in the halls, having picnics, constantly indoctrinating their people, constantly indoctrinating them with lies. Our candidate collected 1.2 billion, almost twice as much as Donald Trump. You know how much independent media got? Almost nothing. Nothing to go out there and spread the message. It was all done, the grassroots, on their own. $1.2 billion going to high-powered consultants that has never hugged a working class person, have never given value to one of these people. Never. So my dear sister Deborah, it's not an attack. When I talk about Democrats, it's nothing to not take umbrage with. It's something to say I am doing the job, but other Democrats, the Democratic Party needs to do it. Mandami took it up on his own to do it. Remember when Obama ran the first time, he said, to hell with the party. We're going to create Obama for America. Unfortunately, that was absorbed. Ray Brackens, come on in, my brother.
Yeah, brother, you were sitting hot fire. I mean, I just was coming in because, I got the bad news, the text on my phone that the big, beautiful bill, or as I call it, the big, beautiful steal, because basically, the Republican Party and Donald Trump have just basically signed off on a document to raid America's pocketbook and use that to enrich their filthy, greedy corporate friends. And all the while, everybody else just has to scrap around for the crumbs that they leave behind. I was talking to my father a moment ago before the show, and I was like, the first mistake was why, after this man insurrected the Capitol, why didn't the Democrats, and I'm going to say they got to be held accountable. Biden had 4 years. Democrats had 4 years of a majority. Why didn't they find a way to pass a resolution to say this man cannot be on the ballot? Why didn't states take it upon themselves to X this man off the ballot for that? I don't understand. He should have been disqualified point on.
Let me tell you, and I'm glad that you raised that point. And that's the point I am making. When, yes, Democrats continue to do good things. Yes, Biden has passed the most progressive policies we have seen in our lifetime. But all of that went to naught. They've canned the green programs. They've canned the healthcare programs. All of that, this great, beautiful bill gets rid of. And your question is the perfect question, my brother. Why didn't they do when they had the opportunity to do it? Why did it take our Attorney General 2 years before he took it seriously to take on Donald Trump? We allowed Donald Trump to be president again, even as he is a criminal. We did that. Our lackadaisical, what is the name of the Attorney General? That he was supposed to be Supreme Court Justice. You know who I'm talking about. But we did that.
Yeah.
We did that. We should have taken him out long time ago. And there is so much more that would have gotten done. But anyway, anything else that you want to add before I get into the rest of the program, brother?
Yeah. And one last thing, we should have took it upon ourselves, because I remember I was in Austin, Texas with Reverend William Barber, when they said we should have took it upon ourselves to strengthen the Voting Rights Act when we knew what they had coming up the pike with this crap in 2025. And I'll leave on that note. But yeah, that's where we screwed up royally.
Thank you, my brother. Again, thank you. You have a good day, Ray. The thing about it that we constantly do is we constantly take a knife. We constantly take a knife to a gunfight. But anyway, I want to play a piece. I want to play a piece first that I called just before the vote. I called my Congressman John Cotter from Kingwood, Texas. How you doing, my brother? Merrick Garland, thank you. That's our Attorney General, Merrick Garland. Thank you for that. Welcome aboard, Sus. Turn and a smile, Ernie Boxall, all of you guys. I want to play this conversation I had with the office of my congressman. I called my congressman today And I started the recording about, I guess, 10, 15 seconds later. My first question to him was, or to his staff, was whether he was going to sign or vote for the bill. And she said, the congressman is very interested in what's really occurring in Congress. And then when I asked again, she said, he will be supporting the parts of the bill that he had something to do with. In other words, he's supporting the bill. So I played along and I said, so that means he's probably not going to vote for it if he's only supporting those parts. She said, no, he's going to support the bill because the bill, again, does right or something to that effect. And then she went ahead and pointed out that Medicaid doesn't really, in effect, telling us that Medicaid is not going to do the thing, that the cuts in Medicaids are not going to do the things that we are saying it will do. So I want you to listen to the conversation here, and then let's talk about the specifics.
He is definitely an advocate for the policies that he put in there or that he's advocated for, and overall, he is for the bill. So he will be voting yes.
Does he understand that here in Kingwood, I live here in Kingwood, there's several nursing homes with people here in Kingwood on Medicaid that will get affected? Does he know that he has constituents that are actually going to be affected by that? And likewise, does he know that given the elderly here in Kingwood, which we are overpopulated with the elderly here, that when the sequestration occurs because of the deficit caused by the bill, that it will materially affect these people in Kingwood? Is he aware of that at all? The
intention of Medicaid is not to take away health care and health coverage for those that are in need.
No, I got it. What I'm saying, however, is based on how I have the bill in front of me and I went through and read it, that there are quite a few people because of the way the nursing homes are structured. And we have several nursing homes here in Kingwood that they will be materially affected. And if he wants, we can actually send him information on that a vote for that would mean he would have voted to really harm some of these people in nursing homes. Does he know that?
Well, I can pass that message along to him.
Okay. So the vote hasn't occurred yet. You work for him. A lot of these folks are voting for this thing without having read it. I've downloaded the entire bill, passed it through ChatGPT, and looked at these sections that will materially affect people in Kingwood. I am actually a blogger here, etc. And, we're going to publicize this thing immensely because, again, Dan is supposed to be working for us. And this is going to get a whole lot of his constituencies hurt because he doesn't want to hold up for the bill.
Yes, sir. I can pass your messages along to him.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too. All right, let's get specific here. In Texas, I think it's about 85% of people in nursing homes are on Medicaid. In this area, between 60 and 70% of the people in these nursing homes are on Medicaid. All right. Now, she tried to imply that there wasn't much to happen with Medicaid. And what I want to do, because we want to be fact-based, I want to pull out the sections of a few sections, and in this case, 5 sections or 4 sections that materially affect those in nursing homes here in Kingwood. And let me put those on the screen for you because they make the assumption that we don't know what we're talking about. And so here's the deal. Section 71107, eligibility redeterminations. All those people in the nursing homes right now, whether ill or not, they must come up with requalifications all of the times. And there it is. Section 71107, ability determination says, during the 12-month period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act, each state shall conduct a redetermination of eligibility under the state Medicaid plan in accordance with the procedures that ensure accurate and timely determination. This pushes states to accelerate eligibility reviews, likely resulting in millions losing Medicaid if they fail to submit required paperwork or meet update criteria. Second one, Section 71108, revising home equity limits. And this is big. It says it's going to strike from the Social Security Act and reduce from $500,000, the exemption of $500,000 to $300,000, and from $750,000 to $500,000. That means, think about this. Home prices are appreciating, right? The prices of home continue to go up in the aggregate. And what they're telling you is, one, you have to reclassify yourself every year. And two, if your home value reaches those predetermined limits, your Medicaid will be dropped. Your Medicaid would be cut, or maybe you just have to get rid of the house, pay all of that into Medicaid, go bankrupt. That's number two. So there we go. A specific that shows that people will lose their Medicaid incrementally as inflation goes up, as their homes appreciate. The other one, modifying cost sharing for expansion population. States shall impose premiums and cost sharing for individuals described in Section 1902, including monthly premiums not to exceed 5% of household income. This applies cost sharing to ACA Medicaid expansion recipients, making it harder for working class adults to afford care, including future long-term care if they age into a nursing home. That's Section 71120. Now, Section 71106, payment reduction for erroneous payments. If the Secretary determines a state made erroneous excess payments, the federal medical assistance percentage shall be reduced by an amount equal to the excess. This punishes states financially for errors in Medicaid disbursement, which may pressure them to tighten approvals and reduce access. So these are just four of the provisions that will materially affect all of the folks. Look, in Kingwood, homes can range anywhere from $250,000 right up to several $1 million. And the median is way up there. So a lot of folks, by dropping it from 750 to 500, a lot of the elders in this community and those that are in those nursing homes will lose their Medicaid. It's not conjecture. It's in the bill. And I want to point this out because this is important and people don't get it, right? You qualify for Medicaid based on how much you have, when you're in nursing homes, and there are special provisions. But then, because they need to raise money for the tax cut, they pull the rug from under you. They change the rules, right? You have to requalify every year. And then it's not only that they say the appreciation of your house, they backdoor it. They said no longer is somebody with a $500,000 home. Remember, a home is just sitting there. But you may have to go into your into nursing care. They're saying, well, if you got that home, we're going to take it all because, well, even though we used to say that the way the middle class and working class can pass wealth on to the future so that everybody else's future would be better, used to be your home. Now it won't happen. Everybody dies. And because everybody dies, and our culture in the United States is a lot of the older folks go into nursing homes, well, your homes, as soon as you get sick, your home goes to the plutocracy because the people who own the nursing homes will get all your money. And then after they get all your money, the government will kick in look, folks, this is evil. And this is saying, a lot of people get pissed when I talk about us being antiseptic slaves. But the whole design of the system is so that the working class cannot collect anything. You cannot really save. They have found financial instruments to take everything away from you. Even if you don't get sick, they come out with instruments that work on your mind to make you spend. Let's give a good example. You've got a home. You paid your home off and you say, great, I paid my home off. I'm still paying property taxes, etc. I paid my home off. And then you watch a commercial with a star that you love, whether it be Fonzie or somebody else come on and they say, hey, you have a house. You paid it off. Why not let that house? You worked all your life for that house. Why not let that house work for you now? Why not enjoy a vacation? Why not enjoy just flying around and spending your money with us? Why not get a reverse mortgage? And they take it right back from you. And you say, well, that's your irresponsibility. No, they know the human psychology. And the design of the human psychology is to have you do those things. So all these structures that we have, all these financial instruments are designed to work on our weaknesses or our catastrophes, meaning our weaknesses in character or our catastrophes. Now, Michael Radnin has a great thing that he wants to put on the screen that I want to get on the screen. Here it is. For all of you MAGA folks, by the way, don't forget, you fall in the lower strata, okay? I'm just saying. The real devout MAGA, if you listen to our program this morning with Neil Aquino, who was in Cincinnati, and, he said, I really don't want to pour whatever he called it, but we understand where MAGA resides. MAGA in general are not as well off as non-MAGA. Okay, that's just the reality. Okay, and look at what Donald Trump has done to his people. The top 40% or the lower 40% of America is not getting a tax break at all. They are going to lose money. The lowest amount, $940 from people making less than $17,000. For people making less than $51,000, they lose $580. For people making just under $100,000, they gain $800. La-di-da-di-da. But for those making $4 million, they get $390,000. And those are just the individuals we're talking about. Those are not the corporations that we're talking about. Oh, if you are Meta, you get $15 billion. Okay? Look, a lot of MAGA is not going to just believe you out of hand. Okay, they don't. They don't even believe the past Republicans that they used to have a lot of faith and trust in. I want you to, there's some advice that Governor John Kasich has for Democrats. And Don Kasich is a good Republican, but he's a conservative, and I know for a fact that conservative policies have never served this country well. We can look at the statistics, we can look at the numbers and see, but we're not talking numbers. But John Kasich has some good advice for Democrats, and I want to go ahead and play that right now because I think it is something worth listening to.
We also just heard the speaker, when asked about the negative consequences of this bill, says, look, he thinks the negatives are overblown. But we've got statements here from the two Republican holdouts, Brian Fitzpatrick, and they both mentioned Medicaid. I'm sorry, this is just from Brian Fitzpatrick, a Republican from Pennsylvania. But one thing he hammers home is it was the Medicaid amendments because he wants to look out for his constituents and he wants to strengthen Medicaid protections. According to census data, Republicans represent more than half of the lowest income House districts. So how is this bill not going to adversely impact the people who voted them into office?
Well, Christine, what the Democrats have done pretty successfully, I looked at the polling before this was even voted on, and it was not being viewed very positively. And I think the Democrats have defined this as a bill that takes away people's health care. Look, I hate to rain on this parade. I've been there when we passed major legislation, some of which I was the sponsor for. But at the same time, what you're going to see from the Democrats, in my opinion, is you're going to see vivid examples of the people that are going to be affected. They're now talking about foster children who are disabled, who are going to lose their health insurance. That's what you're going to see as we approach this midterm. And the question is, can the Republicans somehow get on the top of this? The challenge they have with the tax cuts is that, it's an extension, so you don't really see anything. They added some other parts to this bill, which I frankly didn't think was necessary. Extending the tax cuts, in my judgment, was important because that provides economic growth. And if you hadn't done it, you'd have seen the economy sink. But I have to tell you that this issue is going to be about health care. The Democrats will use this in a very personal way. They will be very specific. They're not going to talk about lots of numbers. They're going to give examples of people and families that are going to be affected here. And finally, the Committee for a Responsible Budget, which is made up of a lot of retired Republican and Democrats who are really involved in fiscal matters, have blasted this bill because of the enormous increase to the national debt. And we don't have time for an economics lesson, but what I can tell you is if national debt doesn't get addressed soon, we are all going to pay a significant price, and you're going to see more and more focus on the consequences of what happens when you keep bringing up bills and you can't pay those bills. Just wait and see.
So now, so that's the deal. Now, Uju has an interest in. Well, before I go to Uju, I want to go ahead and make sure and discount something that he said. He said he is happy that the bill went ahead and kept all the tax cuts. And his assumption was that these tax cuts would have brought growth. And the reality is he's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. The tax cut on the high end, if you take a look at the chart that Brother Rudnin put on the screen here, let me put that. If you take a look at that chart, you see that most of the tax cut went to folks making over $300,000. That's where the bulk of all this money went, right? But here's the problem. The people who would spend the money as soon as they get the tax cut would have been those in the first, second, and third quintiles. That is where you wanted tax cuts to go. You don't want tax cuts to go to these rich folks. So, no, they need a tax increase. I am sorry. They don't even need the taxes to stay the way they are. They need, from the people, they all need a tax increase. Okay? And if you want to see the economy take off, what you do is you give the poor people, the working class people, the middle class people more money in their pockets. And what happens? They buy more pizzas. They buy another car. They buy clothes. You give that money to wealthy people. There's nothing that they need. So there's no extra spending that occurs from that to make the economy move. So then what they say, they're going to invest. Invest in what? If the middle class and the working class isn't spending more, there's absolutely no reason for the wealthy who gets a tax cut to invest. The fallacy of supply side economics is based on the people who believe in it learning how to be, and I say this with respect, stupid. Again, if you want investment to build factories, to produce more, you have to have demand. If you don't have demand, how the hell does the person who has money to invest know where the hell to invest? They don't. And they do not invest. They put their money in the Cayman Islands. They loan us money for the deficit. That's where they put their money. So as we give them all these tax cuts and we borrow money, you know what they do? They say, I got a tax cut. The government, because I got the tax cut, there's a deficit. To solve the deficit, the government has to borrow money. Who has money to lend the government? Hey, you just gave me a tax cut. I'll loan you the money. It is not this stuff is not rocket science. But that is why Republicans merge all of this with racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, because if you're worrying about all these other things, you don't think critically. And that's why they don't want you to critically think. You don't think critically. And why don't you think? If you started to think critically, you'd say, wait a minute. We got to create demand first. We got to put money in these people's pocket so that they'll go buy that extra shirt. If they buy that extra shirt, oh, hey, China, I need to import some more shirts. It is not rocket science. Uju says the following. I want to get to my sister. Uju says, again, why is anyone assuming we are having midterm elections? Read Project 2025. They will now start working on election reform, and then we will start working on the streets. Let me tell you, Uju, my sister, we are having 2026 elections, and we are not going to allow, and I repeat, we are going to have a 2026 election if we have to commandeer this thing. But there will be 2026 elections. Absolutely so. And let's make sure to not get any of that into the psyche. Uju also says he's a Republican. They can not help themselves. They are always about tax cut. It's like breathing for them. I told everyone when this man won, if you make less than 400,000, you will suffer and have no freedom. There is a reason why Kamala Harris kept on saying 400,000. Everyone in DC knew that was the magic income to buy any household freedom and liberty. We are now officially in a society where your income buys you freedom from the government, freedom to live and stay out of the crosshairs of the regime until they speak up. It's all sick. July 1st was the first day for families to begin registering for reduced school breakfast and lunch. Imagine how many kids will starve. My heart breaks. I hear you, sis. I hear you. I want to play the piece that I did this morning because then I'll come back. We'll have enough time when I come back. As you were talking, as you're giving your soliloquy about what's happening in our country, I am watching Hakeem Jeffries on in the well in Congress, given a several hour long speech. And it is just that, a speech about what needs to be done and how bad this bill is that the Republicans are doing. And some of the calls that we get from the right here, we have folks that are, and I say this with respect, but it shows how gullible they have allowed themselves to become in believing the false narrative that they get from the right, as opposed to the qualified truth that we give here and you give on your blog and many others give. There's a psychology that was used against these people that makes you and I and Jack and Howard and those great callers we get a simple wall that nothing comes out of there. They have no faith in what we're saying because they're so psychologically enthralled with what the right has done to them. And before I get started with my own soliloquy here, I want to say this. There was a whole lot of work done. When the Powell memo came out, which was written by Lewis Powell of a Supreme Court, to be a Democrat that was ascended by Richard Nixon to the Supreme Court. It kind of tells you, when people say that these are all the same, that the two parties are the same, that's not true in policy, but there's a lot of truth in that in action. Again, Lewis Powell, a Democrat, worked for the Chamber of Commerce, was a lawyer to the Chamber of Commerce, and became Supreme Court Justice placed by Nixon. Wrote the Powell Manifesto, the Powell Memo, the Powell Letter. That was one of the genesis of what we're seeing here. And I want everybody to understand this, because those people that Neil spoke about, broke people, poor people, they don't have a pot to you know what in, but they come out when Neil is on the street corner saying, I am here to protest in order for policies to be affected that support you. Poor person in that car, poor person that is having a hard time, poor person that is being screwed. I am here for you. And that poor person looked back at Neil and says, you should be glad Trump is in office. How does that happen? That doesn't happen in a vacuum. All of us are human beings. The thing about it is all of us have a psychology within. And the Powell Memo, it took them energy and time to psychological research, think tanks to come out with policies or come out with frameworks that convince those people in middle America, convince those people in those edges of your neighborhood not to listen to Neil, not to listen to me, not to listen to those who are looking out for your interests, because the first thing they worked on is to make sure people lost their respect for you. You look at our government by design, government by purported, our Constitution said, we the people of the United States, we are the government. Yet they magically was able to first demonize the government and make you believe the government is that third party, that third thing, that other thing, not you. Because remember, if you say government is bad, if government is this, government is that, you are actually saying you are bad. You are no good. You are dumb. But that is what the Powell Memo instituted through their think tanks. You must have a fear that government cannot be good. A government that you elected, but somehow a corporation that is by definition an autocracy, because a corporation has an unelected president, an unelected board, and unelected all these things. And then they work with your government, we the people, right, to go ahead and do things to support them. Hey, the stock market today is likely going to go up because in the short term, this bill is going to be great. 21% taxes for corporations as opposed to 38%, while you are going to pay 37% depending on how much you make. Wow. They're getting a windfall. Wow. As soon as this bill is signed, Meta will qualify for a 15% tax write-off on all their research. I told you that they don't take chances, they don't take risks, but you don't know that. That person that flipped off Neil in Cincinnati or in that area They don't know that. They don't know that they're driving that crappy car and they don't have health insurance because Meta had to get that $15 billion. They don't know that. They don't know that because those corporations are fixed at 21% now, that Medicaid that their son or daughter who's invalid, it has a problem, isn't going to get. They don't know that. And why don't they know all of this? They've lost faith in MSNBC. They've lost faith in all these other stations that try to play the middle, while Fox News, far right, tell them about wokeism and all these other things. That's what they hear. That's who they believe. Why am I nice to folks? Why am I trying to bring everybody in? Because the truth of the matter is, while Neil is on the street by his lonesome, I mean with his crew, of course. I know you with your crew. I get,
we had a crew in Cincinnati too. Yeah.
No, I get it. But I'm trying to make a point here. He doesn't have the backing of MSNBC. He doesn't have the backing of Hakeem Jeffries. He doesn't have the backing of the Senator Schumer. Because you know how we know that? Somebody as skilled as Gozar Mandami can't get the support of Schumer, can't get the support of Hakeem Jeffries. When Mandami went into communities who voted for Trump in New York, and at the same time, they voted for Trump as well as AOC. And he goes and says, why did you make that leap? Why? He's out there talking to these people, right? And he said, what does it take for me to earn your vote back? And they centralize on a message of affordability, something that woman in Cincinnati who flipped off Neil may want to hear if she believed what she was hearing. And evidently a lot believe Madami. But, and I'm coming back to you in a second, Neil, but I want to finish this. But I tell you who I blame. And a lot of my brothers and sisters on the Democratic side, not the lefty side, not the Neil Aquino side of things, but the damn Democratic establishment. There's a particular elected official. She is supposed to be one of us. And I asked her when she got into the Senate, I said, are we now, young person, are we going to go into the Yoakum, Texases and the rural areas? And because some of these areas border some of these areas, are we going to go in there and treat these people, even as they're spitting on us, treat them with a little bit of respect to show them that everything they hear about us, we don't have the horns, we don't have the crows, we don't have these things. We're actually nice people. And I've given the story about speaking to a Republican, more than one Republican in over here, and having a conversation not based on originally on politics, just based on things that we want. And the person having that conversation, then to find out that personally I'm a lefty, was so shocked because they are so programmed to believe that those of us working for policies for them, which she agreed with as well, that somehow they didn't realize that would have been coming out of somebody like me or somebody like Neil, etc., because we are the real ones that are supporting them. The Democratic establishment has failed many of those people in the middle of the country, because as we have allowed the plutocracy to grow, whether it was under Nixon, whether it was under Obama, whether it was under Jimmy Carter, because Jimmy also did some deregulation on the airlines, whether it was under Clinton was the triangulation and welfare as we know it is gone. We always, you have Democrats, Neil, that talk to you, and those Democrats tell you, hold on a bit, Neil. Hold on. Don't be so radical, Neil. Don't be so radical, Neil. Let's do this. Your time will come. The time of those, you ask, why are some black men jump into the Republican Party? Why are some Latinos jump into the Republican Party? Right now, they're learning that was a bad move, but they were told, after all, we weren't there. We weren't in their space 24/7 as Trump and these other people were. And I saw that. I saw how these guys are everywhere. I saw how they're in Kingwood. I saw how they're in no-name Montgomery County doing their thing as Neil and his cohorts and the Cindy Hendricksons in Kingwood, and the new lady you met in, I think it was up in the North Harris County. Folks, we have to do better. Thank God for guys like Neil and those that are still putting their body out there. But if the Democratic Party wants to win back people, even as a poor person that doesn't have a pot to do what in, there's a hell of a lot of work to do. There's a hell of a lot of work to do. Hey, Daddy, love what you're talking about, Daddy. I did hear that about what occurred in Alabama. Got to look that up. And Uju, look, I always knew that you would be a fighter, sis. I had no doubt about that. I'm just saying I want to make sure that everybody has the same mentality that you have. Yes, we are going to fight. Okay, guys, look, we're at 52. I can probably take some calls for 6 minutes or so. Telephone number 281-823-7747. Let me put that in the chat. 281-823-7747. I have too many numbers to remember. 281-823-7747. It's in the first chat. Let me put it in a second chat. All right. I saw another message I wanted to read out here. Bruce, about the look, I am going to try to go and march. I'm not sure I'm going to march with the Kingwood area Democrats or the by the way, Cotter, are you going to be out there tomorrow? John Cotter? John is the president of the Humble Area Democrats, or I may also choose to go with Cindy Hendrickson with Indivisible. So I don't know yet, but I'll try to be out there. My back is killing me, but I'm going to see how my brace works. All right, let's talk to Brother Bruce. Brother Pollard, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, pretty good. So I think not politics done right, but Indivisible and the Democrats and Moms Demand Action, which, I'm a man enough to be a mom,
yes,
are all going to march together.
Oh, so Cindy's going to be going with I didn't know that she was going to merge with CAD. That's good. Yeah, we kind of we line people together, so there's like a little space in between us and stuff, and we give out the same candy and different cards for the Mom Demand Action cards that we give out, and excellent.
Try and get people to text in 447 to get on the Moms Demand Action alert line. That'd be good.
Well, that's great.
We think we start in Kingwood at 10, and actually lots of people are coming over from the Woodlands this time around because there's no parade in the Woodlands.
Oh, great! So that means that's going to be a large contingent, because that would be CAD, Indivisible, and Moms Demand Action. That is great. One right after the other. Okay, absolutely. That's great. I imagine that your wife is representing. Susan is doing all the work for moms.
There's a core. It's a diminishing return at the moment, but I think that we'll get there. But the silencer thing, maybe line out and maybe not. That was buried in the big bill somewhere. They were they're going to allow silencers, and then they were going to put a tax on them, and then they were going to just give them money to make silencers and give away for free or something. I don't know.
Okay. Well, look, I just downloaded the latest version of the Senate bill, but I haven't queried it for anything with guns or anything like that. I need to do that. But let me just tell you, folks, I have been studying that bill because, again, we have all the right-wing folks that believe we're lying. And I just want to say, look at the bill, look at section XYZ, which is what I wanted to do with Dan Crenshaw, my congressman. But this is what we have to do. But anyway, Bruce, you're going to
billion tax break for Meta and $1 billion screw for Medicaid.
Yeah, no, it's $1 trillion screw for Medicaid. Yeah. It's a $15 billion gift to Meta, and it's a $500 billion hit on Medicare, which officially could not be touched because this is reconciliation. But guess what? Because the deficit is so big in this bill, it actually kicks in a clause in the previous 60 cloture bill that is going to kick $500 billion off of Medicare. So when they said they weren't going to affect Medicare, they lied. It's going to hit Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, as well as transfer all this money to the top. So folks, you're going to hear a lot of spin. All my listeners today, you're going to hear a lot of spin from the Republicans on Fox News. You're going to hear a lot of spin. They're actually going to come on MSNBC. They're actually going to come on CNN. And they're going to be lying through their teeth. And what I want all of us to be prepared for is to say, no, the bill says this. And this is what's going to happen. Anything else, Bruce?
Nope. That's it. Just thought I'd say hi to everybody. We're still there, and we're going to work on it. And we're going to have happier 4th of Julys, and we're going to get down the middle and get everybody having a good life.
We are going to fight, brother. Thank you very much. Hey, guys, Brother Bruce is one of our heroes, great supporter of both KPFT and Politics Done Right. Thank you, brother.
Ciao.
All right. Anyway, folks, we are at the end of the program. Look, I want to thank all of you. Before I go ahead and throw my ask out there, I want to say this, brothers and sisters. I know a lot of you are feeling down now. I know a lot of you are feeling dejected now. Let me just tell you, I never, ever, ever get depressed. I get mad with a smile. We are going to go out there. And by the way, I'm not saying you don't need to get depressed. For those of you who get depressed, please watch your mind, watch your mental health. Remember, you have others supporting you. We are here to support you as well. Our PDR posse family is here to support all of you. All right? Every day, it's like when I had my little chat with brother Tom Hartman. Every day, you got a place every day, 3:00, every morning, 6 a.m. By the way, all Central Time. 3 Central p.m., 6 Central a.m. You need to fire off. We're here. You need to take a break. Watch your mental sanity. But understand that we are not going to just let this happen. We're going to fight this damn thing through. All right? We are going to fight this thing through. We are going to be out there telling the truth. We are going to be out there showing people how it affects them personally. Because there are some people who don't have empathy, but they care about themselves and their families. We're going to run with that. Right, Patrick Magner? We're going to do that. All right. My ask. Look, we continue to do this work. All I ask is those of you who have the wherewithal, many of you support all these other politicians. I ask for a little support for what we do. And how can you do that? Become a paid subscriber. It's cheap. Right, Bruce? It's inexpensive. Just go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and become a paid subscriber if you can. I ask that kindly. Guess what? You're not only supporting me like this, but you get all of my books that I've written already, 5 books you can read on Substack by becoming a paid subscriber. And guess what else? You get a personal program on the weekend for those who are paid subscribers, and you get a whole lot of other things. If you click the about after you become a paid subscriber, I see a lot of stuff we try to do as gimmicks to entice you to become a paid subscriber. Because again, we can't do this without you. And this is going to be a lot of work organizing for this. Hell, I'm going to New Orleans for the Netroots convention, where we're going to meet a whole lot of other progressives and come up with other strategies. And we will be reporting about strategies. In fact, I'm going to be sending folks emails to see who wants to be producers of the videos we produce. Patrick Magner, thank you, my brother. Send me a location for tomorrow. Kingwood Drive and Lake Houston Boulevard. That's where. Actually, no. Actually, I'll have to get that more exact, because I don't know where exactly we're going to line up. Anyway, folks, but look, you can support. Thank you for that super chat, my brother Patrick Magner. But folks, we need your support. So please, again, politicsdoneright.com, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter is a place to become a paid subscriber. And we're going to be here, and we're going to be alerting. Like I said, we're heading to New Orleans next month for 5 days or so, I believe. I'm going to bring you a whole lot from New Orleans. And look, don't be depressed if you can avoid being depressed. Remember, you have support. Got to get out of here. My name is, all right, I love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.